Hey, what's up guys, I'm Praetorian and welcome back to Europa Universalis IV as we are playing with the Emperor expansion as the Duchy of Milan. Alright, so sorry there wasn't a video the other day guys. I did write a comment on our community section about why there wasn't a video. I just had to work a double shift, which wasn't planned. I was actually surprised that they called me because my part-time job where I work security, I don't work very many shifts per week anymore, about 2 shifts per week. That's it. I do have that one long Sunday shift, but yeah, I don't work very often, so I was a bit surprised when they called me not only to work an extra shift, but to work a double shift. But one of my coworkers, he's going out of town for the week, and I guess he wanted that extra day off or whatever, and they told him he could have it, but then they didn't get anybody to work it, so, you know, pretty standard stuff for my job. Promising shifts off when they don't even have anybody to work it. But anyways, so I had to work that double shift, so that's the reason why we didn't have any videos, so sorry about that guys. So I did say last episode that we'd finally talk about the Italian wars and our heir here. We named him Ludovico after the historical Ludovico. So I said that I'd talk about, you know, his role, you know, the history regarding Ludovico and his role in the Italian wars. So before we get started here, I would like to mention that if you're one of those people who doesn't like these historical parts where we talk about the history of the country you're playing as and the characters, which I know that there's a lot of people who do enjoy it, but there are some of those that I know that don't really like that part. If you're one of those people, when we do these longer historical sections, which I do expect this one to be probably slightly longer than any of the ones we've done yet in the series, if you're one of those people who doesn't like it, I always do post a pinned comment with a timestamp to skip this whole section so you can get straight to the gameplay. So always make sure to go check out the comments to see if I got that pinned comment with the link so you can skip right past it. So with that being mentioned, let's talk about Ludovico, and we'll just pick up right where we left off the last time we talked about the history of Milan, and that was with Francesco Sforza. So, you know, he was the ruler, he died. When he died, his eldest son took over. So his eldest son's name was Galeazzo. Now, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that, because I do not speak Italian. I do speak a little bit of Spanish though, so I know they're somewhat similar. So I'm just pronouncing all these as, you know, the best I can. And they're probably coming out, you know, they might come out sounding more Spanish. But we're going to call him Galeazzo. That's how I'm going to pronounce that. He was and again, if I do mispronounce anything, then just post down in the comments below what the correct pronunciation is, and I'll try my best to, you know, use that if I happen to use the name again anytime. So Galeazzo, again, he was the eldest son, and to just be real quick with him, he was a monster, basically. He was a terrible, terrible person, and he ruled about 10 years before he was assassinated. But again, just not a good person. You can always, you know, look him up on Google or whatever you want to know all the bad things this man did. But a terrible person. And so when he died, he left one of his sons, who was a child, as the heir. And so, of course, there needed to be a regent, and there was a little bit of competition on exactly who was going to be the regent. And basically, Ludovico ended up being the one who was chosen to, or kind of pushed his way in, actually, as the regent for Galeazzo's son. So Ludovico was the regent, but when we look at it, he was actually the de facto Duke of Milan, because he pretty much ruled as if he was the Duke. He eventually ended up imprisoning his nephew, and his nephew did end up dying in that prison, and he never had any power or authority, so we'll just speak about Ludovico as if he was Duke the entire time, even if he wasn't technically the holder of that title. So as the Duke of Milan, we talked about how his father, Francesco, was a big supporter of the Renaissance, a patron of the arts, but of course the Renaissance flourished in Milan during his rule, but the high point of the Renaissance here in Milan, and maybe not in other cities, but here in Milan, was in the later period here, the 1480s and 1490s, under Ludovico, and it really flourished during his rule because he was a major patron of the arts. Now, Ludovico would bring some of the greatest artists of the Italian Renaissance to Milan, including men like Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci lived in Milan through the 1480s and 1490s, largely due to Ludovico's patronage. So he created many works while in Milan, but probably the most famous one that most of you guys probably know of is the one that he created towards the end of Ludovico's life, which was the Last Supper. So basically, the Renaissance flourished in his, throughout his time as Duke, just similar to his father. So now we'll talk about Ludovico's role in the Italian Wars, which many of you may know did start in 1494, which is kind of the reason why I wanted to just go ahead and talk about this in the beginning, as well as the other reasons I mentioned before. Is because we are in 1494, which is when the war started, though it did start, in early 1494. So basically, what ended up happening here is you had a situation where Milan felt threatened by its southern neighbors. So here in Rome, you had Alexander VI as Pope, which is probably one of the most infamous popes in history. I'm sure many of you guys have heard of him or at least seen him in some sort of media. He is Rodrigo Borgia, so he is from the Borgia shows, which there's a couple different shows about them. So if you haven't seen the shows, then there's also the roles he played in other movies and video games. One of those prominent video games I could think of that had Alexander VI was the Assassin's Creed series. He was in, him and his children were in Assassin's Creed 2 and Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. So Alexander VI, very infamous pope, many people know about. So he was the pope at this time. And then in Naples, they were enemies for a time, the pope and Naples. The alliances in Italy were consistently changing all the time. But they were enemies for a while. And then the new king came to the throne in Naples, and his name was Alfonso II. I believe that was his number. Yeah, Alfonso II, I believe. And they ended up creating an alliance together, which it was a direct threat to Milan, considering the fact that Alfonso had a claim to the Duchy of Milan and had full intentions to eventually get that claim under his control. So he had the two alliances down here that were an obvious problem for Ludovico. And in addition to that, you had Alfonso inviting the King of France, who at that time was Charles VIII, inviting him to invade Milan to kind of deal with their problem for them. So Ludovico has been looked at by historians for a while. He was looked at by historians as the person who caused the Italian Wars, as like the primary person who caused the Italian Wars, and he gets blamed by a lot of Italians for that. Throughout history is kind of like being the reason why they had such division and obviously foreign influence throughout their country for so long. But now more recent historians have kind of started to re-look at Ludovico and look at the events surrounding the start of the Italian Wars and kind of realize that he wasn't the only person who played a role in these wars starting out. You, of course, had Alfonso inviting Charles to invade Milan right there. Then you also had the previous pope, the one before Alexander VI, who was one of the innocents. I don't remember which one. There's a lot of them. And he had also invited Charles VIII to take Milan and kind of give him a claim to it. So, I mean, I don't really see how Ludovico was the only person who played a role in inviting France into Italy, because you have at least two examples right there that I gave you between Pope Innocent and Alfonso. But essentially, he was the last one to invite the King of France in. So Charles very much wanted to take the throne of Naples. He had a claim on the throne of Naples. He, obviously, this is a kingdom, so it's a much more greater prize than the Duchy of Milan. So when Ludovico contacted Charles VIII and requested that he come to his aid and attack Naples, and that if he did, he'd let the French troops march through his lands. So he essentially gave him military access in gaming terms. Told him he could have military access and march through his lands. So this is exactly what Charles VIII did. He marched through Milan and then invaded into Naples and very quickly conquered the Kingdom of Naples, pushed Alfonso out, and pretty much all of Italy was just absolutely shocked at just how quickly and efficiently he did this. Because at this time, the Italians, they just didn't fight war in the same way that you would see, the French and the English fighting their wars in the 100 Years' War. It is a very different style of conflict. Some would say it's a bloodless style, I don't know if that's entirely true. There's certainly casualties, but for the most part, they did try and avoid conflict because it was mercenaries. They used Italian mercenaries in their conflicts, and they didn't really want to die for their employers. So they did try and avoid bloodshed with each other. It's kind of a little bit of an agreement with each other. Some people would call it kind of like a gentleman style of war. I don't know if that's exactly the correct terming, but basically the conflict here is not very efficient, not very conclusive. And so the Italians were absolutely shocked by this, to see the king come down here, King of France come down here and conquer Naples so quickly. So that did result in pretty much everybody turning against the French. Milan ended up, going to war with them, and they actually allied with their enemy Venice. There was also, trying to think who all got involved. Initially, of course, the Pope came in, and Naples was still in. Spain, which at this time was still split into two kingdoms, just as you see here, but of course they were united by 1494 with a marriage. So Spain was also involved, and it would be invited into the conflict against France. There was the Duchy of Mantua. They're involved. Florence. They're also in this alliance. And then finally, and this is the big one, because Charles had full intentions on his way back to France to conquer Milan. Ludovico was quite concerned, as you'd expect him to be. And so this is really where you see his part in the Italian wars taking off, and why everybody kind of blames him for it, because he would ally with the Emperor Maximilian of Austria. In fact, he would arrange a marriage between one of his nieces and the Emperor. So they had a formal marriage alliance together, and invited him into the Italian wars. That would also later bring Spain in, and so that's how the Italian wars really got started, and that's why a lot of people blame him for it, because of this. Not just what happened with France, but also him inviting the emperor in. So Charles is marching up Italy after his success in Naples, and the Milanese and Venetian armies would attempt to stop him from leaving Italy and arriving into France. And this is where they would stop him here in Parma in the Battle of Fornovo, I think that's the pronunciation of it. Again, could be getting it wrong, which I think it was south of Parma. So if Parma is supposed to be here on the map, which is, it's EU4's map, it's not entirely accurate, but I think it'd be somewhere around here. I could be a little bit wrong there on the exact location, but they ended up having the Battle of Fornovo, and that was essentially a victory for the French, in the fact that the French were outnumbered. They had less troops, yet they took less casualties, and they were able to achieve their goal, which was to leave Italy. Charles was able to get out of Italy and back to France. So in that sense, it was a victory, but the Italians could also kind of hold it up as a victory, because Charles lost everything. So when he was traveling up here, he had obviously taken a lot of loot and treasure. He had that booty with him, and he had to leave all of his booty behind. So he didn't get no booty back to France, guys. And so he lost that, and then shortly after that, Aragon would invade into Naples and defeat all the French troops that had been left here to garrison the cities they had taken. So Charles VIII, he lost everything. There's nothing he gained from his invasion of Italy. But there was, of course, one significant consequence of his invasion of Italy, besides the fact that both France and the Emperor were now involved here, as well as Spain. The biggest consequence was the fact that everybody saw that Italy was incredibly weak due to the divisions here, the constant changing of alliances, the constant fighting between the Italian powers, and then the fact that they fought warfare a bit differently than other countries, especially in Northern Europe. They just ended up looking up really, really weak, and so everybody saw that Italy was an incredibly rich land, which I don't think people knew just how rich they were here, how rich they had become from trade across the 14th and 15th centuries. And so they're very rich and very weak. So that, this is how you get the Italian wars. So Charles VIII returns home to rebuild his armies, rebuild his treasury, and to rest up. But he never did invade Italy again. He did die just a couple years later, and the new king of France was Louis XII. Now, Louis XII was actually had a hereditary claim to the Duchy of Milan, because one of his relatives was actually a Visconti, which remember at this time historically they were the previous dynasty before the Sforza took over, which case in our case they are still the dynasty of our lands. And so he had a actual claim, not just one that some pope told him he had. He had an actual claim to the Duchy of Milan. So when he decided to invade Italy and continue France's attempt to conquer the area, Milan was the first place he went after. So he did invade into Milan. He did conquer it and did force Ludovico to retreat. So Ludovico retreated, got some help from his, I guess it'd be his, God, I don't even know, nephew-in-law? I don't know if that's, that'd be nephew-in-law, I suppose. Got some help from his nephew-in-law, hired some mercenaries, including some Swiss mercenaries, and eventually retook Milan. From there, he came over to this province here, which would kind of be his defensive base. And the French would invade in here and they would siege him again. And it was really just a conflict between mercenaries at that point because there was obviously a lot of Swiss mercenaries in the French army. And then, of course, as I said, Ludovico was also using quite a few Swiss mercenaries. So the Swiss had very little interest in fighting each other. So an agreement was made where the Swiss would be able to retreat from the fort here and they would have to give up Ludovico. But they decided not to give him up. They actually tried to sneak him out. They tried to, at least honor their employment contract a little bit. They tried to sneak him out, but it didn't work. And he was captured by Louis. And he would be held in imprisonment for 8 years. He'd be in prison for 8 years before he finally died. And that is the story of Ludovico. That is it. Again, he spent most of his life. He wasn't actually the Duke of Milan. He was just the regent. And through most of his time as Duke, through all of his time as Duke, he was involved in the war against France and then imprisoned after that. So that's his story. It's probably the last... this is the last leader of Milan that we'll probably discuss because it's the last Duke of Milan who I actually have any real knowledge of. And that's largely because the duchy title would... and there would be a couple other Italian Duke of Milans, I think two other Sforzas that would become the Duke of Milan, but for the most part, throughout the next several hundred years, the Duchy of Milan would either be under the control of, the title would be under the control of the King of France or under one of the Habsburgs or their sons, one of the Habsburg rulers in either Austria or Spain or one of their children. So again, that'll likely be the last Duke of Milan that we discuss in this series. We'll have to find other things to talk about when it comes to historical, little historical sections we can do. So that is it. Let's go ahead and get started. I am going to cut that up a little bit because it ended up being really, really long. I think that's a little bit too long. Not quite as long as those Imperator Rome ones that I did, but still, it's out there. So we're going to cut that a little bit, cut a couple parts out. I don't need to go quite into all those details, I think. But let's go ahead and jump into this. The first thing we need to do is select a rival because we don't have one. And good God, we have some just absolutely terrible choices here, don't we? Well, let's go and pick Tunis because they're pissing me off by raiding me all the damn time. So we will pick them. And we'll also have to stop embargoing. That's what happened here. I was wondering where our previous rival went. Here we go. That is the issue. So let's go and embargo them. If I can. It looks like we need to get a diplomat. So one more day here. And let's go and embargo them. And then there's one other thing we needed to do. Yes, that's right. We were going to build construct a building. We already have ships building. As far as our troops go, we could build a few more. For right now, I think that's fine since we're not going to go to war and no reason to pay for troops that we're not going to go to war with, that we're not going to use. So instead, let's go ahead and that is not the buildings. Let's go and get a building constructed and let's see what the best option would be. So there's nothing that's going to get us we can get a little bit of trade power there. I suppose we could do that. I don't know if that's the best way to get money. Probably not. We could also do a workshop here. That's 0.3. That's not too shabby, honestly. Let's take a look at the church. And not going to get much through here. We'll look at, just looking at all of our current options, guys. We could get a little bit of manpower there. Okay, so I think what we're going to do is let's go ahead and get the marketplace. I do want to try and dominate trade in both of these trade nodes if we can. Is there anything else we need to do? I don't think so. Okay. So yeah, we're just kind of, you know, we have these rebellions sitting here, but really what it comes down to is that we need to burn off some of that aggressive expansion, because I'd like to do another war. And again, I can't really say exactly where the next war is going to be, because it's going to be largely dependent on, you know, the situation. I'm expecting about maybe 4 years of peace, guys. Somewhere around there. I'm not set, it's not a set time or anything, but that's what I'm thinking. Probably like 4 years or something like that. One thing we do need to do that I forgot to have done is to mothball our galley fleet here. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, what mothballing is makes it so you don't have to pay them, but their health drops down to 0%. So what that means is that when you're ready to go to war and you unmothball them, then they have to repair all of the ships. Now, repair rate can be very different based on, you know, the type of buildings that you have in the province. I think without any buildings in the province, like any without any of those naval buildings, I think it's 10% per month. So if I'm not wrong, you know, if that's what it is, then that means it takes like 10 months to get back up to 100%. So it's not something to do lightly if you think you're gonna need your ship soon. But again, it does save you a lot of money. We did get another ship built, by the way, and in order to merge these, we'll have to mothball them first. It does save a lot of money, especially if you start getting the bigger ships. Now, these galleys really don't cost much money. They're not very expensive at all. I mean, if we were to just look at the maintenance here, it's 0.04 per month. I mean, it's not a lot, but you get a ton of them, and then it can get quite expensive overall. So yeah, we're just gonna bring them all back home. And we will again have to mothball these guys first before we're able to merge them. Now we are building quite a few more ships. Remember, I think we had set it up to, we were trying to complete that mission that we had. So we're trying to get a total of 12 ships, which would give us the 75% of our total naval force limit. So we have discovered some stuff here. And that's because we are starting to make some progress in the game here. So we're going to start seeing all Africa get discovered. We'll start seeing these sea zones out here eventually start getting discovered. And our coast was raided again. Excellent. These guys are going to continue to harass us. You already know. I haven't seen anybody comment about how exactly to deal with those yet. One thing I have realized here, I realized this when I was looking in the forums, is the fact that the disinherit that we had talked about, or excuse me, not the disinherit button. If you guys recall, there when we don't have an heir, we'll have a button here that allows us to get a new heir. And I had said that because it only costs 20 prestige and 20 legitimacy, I believe. And I was talking about how like that's just not very costly and being able to get an heir whenever you want, which really kind of takes away from, you know, certain mechanics of the game, like the personal unions. And I really didn't like that in a way. But what I didn't know is that the heir you get has a weak claim, which means you're going to come to the throne with very, very low legitimacy. And not only that, you're almost guaranteed to have some rebellions and other issues that can happen. So I didn't know that. And with that in mind, then I guess I can kind of see what they're trying to do there. At least it has a good penalty. So if we get optimism, then we're going to get the monthly war exhaustion ticking down, and I believe we should get the development cost as well. Not that we're really using it right now, but yeah, we're going to go ahead and get that. One thing to consider though is that we are no longer ahead of time on tech for the admin and military, as we've been spending all this time getting these knocked out. So I think we might stop with the military ones now and go ahead and save up for the pike and shot, so that we can get that infantry fire and cav shock. All right, excellent. So 2 bonuses there. Very, very nice. And another thing that somebody had brought up here, and we need to keep watching these damn ships too. Because again, it's not extremely expensive, but it's still money I don't want to have to pay here. But one thing somebody suggested me do with my diplomats is that we could also, when we're not using them, and we know we're not going to use them, that we could have one of them set to try and improve relations with outraged countries, so countries that don't like us. So that's what we're going to do with that other diplomat. He can work on improving relations with them, trying to make us more friends in the world. But You guys have had the expansion for a while now. You know, it's been out for several days, and you know, this is Saturday's video, so I'm sure many of you guys are playing on the weekend. And so yeah, I'd love to know your guys' opinion of it. Some of you guys who are more experienced with EU4 than me, you know, obviously I have a lot of experience with the game, but it's all for, you know, previous versions of the game. I haven't played it in, you know, regularly in years. So it's really hard for me to, you know, compare this expansion and this patch with the previous version of the game, because I hadn't played the direct previous version. So yeah, I'd love to know what your guys' opinions of this specific patch and this specific DLC if you're playing it. So we got an event here, good government policies. We can get some stability, which is always nice. We can get some reform progress, but that's not very much. But I think you only get a little bit. Is it like 1 per month or 2 per month? Let's just take a look. I don't remember. That's at government reforms. So we're currently getting, let's see here. It looks like we're getting 10 per year. So with that in mind, that's a whole year and a half that you're saving. So that's something to consider. Or we could just get some money, which I think has the least value. Let's go with the stability though. Again, we might just end up losing it immediately after, but I really like some of the bonuses that we get here. I think it's really helpful. And we actually don't have any corruption. I thought we had a little bit of corruption. But the main bonuses that we're getting here is the unrest, which should help. Yeah, this is going to tick all these down so we don't have any rebellion problems here any longer. Then, of course, we have the global trade power, which isn't a lot. National tax modifier. Again, not a lot, but all of it does help get us a little bit more money. Oh, and I didn't realize that was paused. My bad, guys. I thought that was playing. Oh, Lord. So we have a offer for a royal marriage from Naples because they are, they are allies. So they're going to continue wanting to get marriages with us. The question is this what we want to do? Because we're going to need somebody to fight here. So, because we're just about ready. I think we probably burned off a good deal of aggressive expansion. Let's just take a look and see, how we're looking on aggressive expansions. Obviously, quite a bit with the Venetians, but we really need to be looking at some of the countries that are more threatening. And still, there is a good chunk of it, unfortunately. So yeah, probably gonna need to burn off aggressive expansion longer. Okay, so we'll stay allied with them for longer because it's probably going to take us a while before we're able to attack them, because I would like to conquer a couple provinces before we start moving down south. So of course here, obviously we want to get that one if we can before Naples does. We get this province. Obviously I'd like to get all of Venice conquered if at all possible. I really want this one. This is where we're going to build a fort. This is going to keep any German or other European armies from entering into our northern territory and taking our capital. So I want a fort there. It'll be on a mountain province. Now I know we have the fort here, but again, that one's just not very useful because it's covering provinces that this fort covers. So that's the reason why I deleted it. And then we'll build this one here, and this one will be the kind of fort that keeps them from entering in here. So that's the idea here. And then it would also cover any provinces within Switzerland. So our army strikes fear into the enemy. Nice. At 25 prestige, we are sitting at max prestige right now. That is fantastic. We do have the ability to get another building, and I think we kind of already decided what we're going to get here, which was we got the marketplace here. So the other thing I said I was going to get was this workshop here, which is not going to get us quite as much value this time. Let's just double check and see if there's anything else that... Oops, that's the workshop I wanted to see, the church. See if there's any other options. Not really. It's still the most profitable one, so yeah, we'll get that one here. I don't know how they're looking on buildings. See what they've got left. Looks like that's it. That's all we're going to build there. So a lot of stuff over here happening. We did complete the estate agenda to build a navy by getting that last ship built there. So that has gotten us the admiral with the 40 tradition. Why can I not move this around? That's weird. And you can't move that around. You move everything else, but for whatever reason you can't move that one. Okay, so that's that robber barons. I'm guessing we'll get that event fired again then because of it. So what we'll want to do is let's go ahead and take a look at that admiral that we have. Okay, so he has the 2+ maneuver and the 2+ fire. So maneuver is quite a bit different when you have an admiral. And one of the things it does is increases the trade power when on trade missions. So for that, I feel that we should assign him to our trade ships, and then we can always bring him back into the fleet once we, if we go to war and have to use the fleet. So let's go ahead. Well, that's right. We have to get these guys here mothballed. Merge them. And then we need to find that damn trade fleet. wherever the hell they may be at. It could be anywhere. Here he is. Let's go and get the Admiral sign there. Increase the trade power. Alright, so looks like Florence is requesting some privileges. We can accept the petition, and the burghers will gain 2% of land, and they'll also gain loyalty, and we'll get 2+ base tax here. Well, that'd be really nice to have, wouldn't it? Or we can accept the petition, or excuse me, or we can reject the petition and piss the burghers off. Well, I say let's accept it. I mean, I don't usually like giving up land, but I mean, this is actually a really good deal for the land here. 2 base tax, not bad at all. In addition to that, it would also make us incredibly close towards fulfilling that objective to get, you know, the more splendor. So let's go and accept it. And now we're only 1 away, which Milan is still 3 away. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just tick up their, I guess we're going to have to do, yeah, all we really have in abundance of right now is diplomatic power. So I suppose we'll have to do base production. And that did also, as you saw, give us another building here. But most importantly, it will now fulfill the a large city objective here, which will now get us more splendor in the hope that we can get something done before this expires. I don't know how long the benefit will actually happen, of course. How long we'll actually get the benefit, I should say, considering that there's not a lot of time left in the Age of Discovery. But yeah, those are the Italian mercenaries. This is the name of the Italian mercenaries, the Condottieri. I don't know. That's why I didn't say the name, because I'm terrible at trying to pronounce it. That's one feature I really don't like in EU4, because it's not really historically accurate. You know, given there are many historical instances of countries, you know, giving troops to other countries during this period, for sure. Oh, whoa, look at this. What the hell happened here? Wow. Provence has all the land up here. I don't know when that happened. But yeah, they have all this land here. All this right here. Okay, interesting. Yeah, the borders are definitely just overall looking a lot better. You see Burgundy has like nothing. Yeah, they essentially have nothing anymore. Looking at Bohemia, they have increased their lands. It looks like they're going to further increase it here in Poland, because Poland is done for. Are they at war with Lithuania? Looks like it. So Lithuania and Poland are not friends. And we got Leonardo da Vinci event here, so we'll have to take a look at this real quick. But first, we'll finish seeing what's going on here. It looks like it's just... Oh, the Hungarians. Oh, okay. I see. I was thinking this was Poland's color here. But that is not Poland's color. That is the Hungarians' color. And so the Hungarians are invaded into both Poland and Lithuania. I was thinking they had broke their personal union, but that did not happen. So yeah, Poland is not looking good right now. They're in quite a bit of trouble. And then also, what do we got up here? Looks like Stettin is attempting to increase their lands, get onto the coast. So Leonardo da Vinci, I'm sure this is going to be like a cheaper artist for us. Excuse me, cheaper. He's a natural scientist. Okay, I guess that makes sense. He'd be a natural scientist. I suppose you could make him an artist too, though. So he's a natural scientist, which is a level 3 production efficiency. So this is also 50% cheaper advisor, and we get 50 of each type of power. Well, that's just fantastic, isn't it, guys? Well, let's see if we actually want to hire him. Also, we can now invest in the next offensive idea. But we're not going to, because again, we're going to get the tech. Let's say if we want to hire him, I think he would be up here, right? Yeah, he's in here. And so you can see that we can hire him for almost the same price of our Sforza guy, which, you know, he's the master mint. I don't even know if we have inflation anymore. We do still have a little bit of inflation. So it's nice taking that down. But again, obviously, I mean, this is one whole extra point. So let's go ahead and get him. And he's, you know, cheaper to hire too. And he's young. He's only 35 years old. So yeah, great leader there that we'll have for a long time for a very good cost. So yeah, we'll just have to ignore this, that we can invest in this until we can get the next tech. 2 of a kind. So this is about our Prince Consort again. And we can say that he has a point. We shall invite his acquaintance to stay. So this is going to be another natural scientist who is also cheaper. I don't think that's necessary. Oh, wait a minute. Hold up. The natural scientist Leonardo da Vinci will work even harder to earn his place. Oh, okay. So yeah, we're gonna keep the guy we currently have and get the 50 admin power, of course. And we can now enact the next government reform, which is the administrative cadre. So we could do administrative clergy. Now this is essentially who do we want to govern for us? Who do we want to be the bureaucrats? And so our options are the administrative clergy. And this would give us one free administrative policy. Oh, that's really good. It doesn't help us much right now because we don't have any policies yet. Well, I can look and see if we have any policies available. But I don't know that we have any yet. But that is going to be really powerful later in the game. And then, of course, you also increase their loyalty, equilibrium, and their influence. Now, the administrative clergy, having the clergy perform, the role of bureaucrat, is the traditional method that most countries used, not just in the early modern period and the beginning here, but also throughout the Middle Ages. They're the primary bureaucrats because they were the only people who were typically educated. Often, many times the nobles were warriors more than they were, bureaucrats. So that's the traditional method. Then we have the nobles of the robe, which they named this after the French version, where they kind of used, they ended up starting a whole different type of nobility where you had like the old traditional nobles called the nobles of the sword, and then you had the new nobles who had gotten all their lands and power basically just from serving the king as bureaucrats. And so a very different type of nobility. And so they kind of base this off the French version. However, there are many different versions you could go with here. And I would say that one of the best versions of seeing, a nobility used turned into the true bureaucrats of the realm would be what Prussia did. I think that's one of the best examples. Where they turned their nobles into very much into bureaucrats, as well as soldiers. But obviously Prussia, the military and the government were kind of worked hand in hand in a way that you didn't see in other countries. So that was kind of the reason why their version was a little bit different. But there was other countries that also used nobles for their administrators. Austria would be another example of a country that they also used clergy, but they very much relied on nobles for bureaucrats. So that's one way to go. Again, this was the way that a lot of early modern countries turned to. And then, of course, you had the meritocratic recruitment. Well, there'd be several countries that would make use of this model, but I would say that one of the more known ones is, of course, in England, where they would use the gentry. And they created a whole professional class, largely based off of the gentry, which are the lesser nobles in England, because gentry were not nobles. They in order to be considered a noble in England, which England operated a little bit different than other countries, in order to be considered a noble, you had to have a high title. Now, if you were related to somebody with a high title, you're the son or the daughter of somebody with a high title, then you're typically called a noble. The brother of a high noble or whatever. You'd be called a noble. But really, the actual definition of the nobles was those who held titles. Quite a bit different than the way lesser nobles were in other countries, such as, France didn't really have a lesser nobility, and really, they had a huge nobility, and they didn't really specify like a lesser and a greater nobility. There were certainly ranks, with the, dukes and counts and so on. Certainly ranks within the nobility and, levels of prestige and power. But they never really classified them differently, like, say, the Hungarians. That's a good country. There's a lot of countries that did this. We have the Hungarians, or in Spain. They'd have entirely different names for their lesser and greater nobles, and treated them differently, and they had different rules that applied to them. Yeah, England would be a very good example of this for a time. Again, no country did the same thing through all their history. They've kind of changed who ran the bureaucracy. We need to get something picked here. So nobles of the robe would give us a leader cost negative 10%. Okay, and then of course do all the same things, but for the nobles, which we don't want to do because we've already decided that the nobles shall not hold the power in our realm. And if we do this one, advisors would be cheaper. And yeah, this would be for the burghers. We're going to do this one because I feel like, these ones just save money here, where this one gives you a significant advantage. I mean, that's big. I mean, it doesn't help you until a later game, but yeah, we're going to go with that one, guys. Plus, we've already kind of been doing a lot of stuff favoring the burghers, and we don't want to favor them too much because that goes against nature's law, right? You just don't favor the nobles and the clergy. They're supposed to be on the top of society. So we've already seen an event once before where that caused us some issues. So I don't know if we'll see further issues regarding that. So I gotta be careful. We don't let the burgers get too powerful, and really you don't want to let anybody get too powerful. As far as what I've seen so far with the estates, again, while it is very similar to the system I created, very similar, so therefore I do like many elements of that, I still feel like the chief problem with the estates is kind of still there, and that's the fact that they're still kind of irrelevant. You know, we keep calling these diets here, but you know, that's very similar when you're doing the again, different and superior to the previous version, but kind of similar to when you did that, you do those decisions with them last time. And overall, the main issue is still present here. That's that they're just not that relevant. We don't really have to worry about them. Like, I'm not concerned that these guys are going to cause me problems. They should be like a huge issue. I'm just turning everybody down because I don't even give a shit. I don't even know why these guys want military access. Again, I just feel like, yeah, I just always want it. And so I tell their ass no unless there's an obvious reason why they need it, or I want them to go fight somebody or whatever. Just because I don't want them marching through my lands, man. And they could be a potential enemy in the future. So cities demand old rights. So we can deny them their old rights and they would lose loyalty, which they have very high loyalty, but we'd also lose stability. Yeah, we'll just do that one. I mean, we just got the government for progress. We don't even have 25, so I wonder if that goes into the negative or just goes down to 0. It just goes down to 0, so that only cost us 6. That was not bad at all. Did it affect their loyalty at all? I didn't see that. I guess we can see, I think there's 60 loyalty. So yeah, it actually improved their loyalty. And now we're actually getting a development cost reduction here, so that's very, very nice. So like if we wanted to develop Milan here, then that would be a great time because it'd be a lot cheaper. You know, this is what we'll do. We're going to put up in just 1 point since we're starting to stack up here. So we're going to put 1 point into our base production here. And we do have enough money to get ourselves another idea. What we want to do is make sure that all of our galleys are mothballed, which they are currently not. Maybe we'll take a look at our troop numbers since I do expect a war to be next episode. So we might want to build our troop numbers up a little bit and maybe split this into 2 separate armies now. Maybe like 15,000 each would be good. Yeah, I think that's what we'll do. 15,000 each. And do we want to do 4,000 cav in each? And then the 11,000 infantry? I don't think so. We'll probably just do them. This is what we'll do. We'll do 3,000 cav to replace. You know, I just don't like when you have only 2,000. I always find that to be kind of risky because one of the cav gets knocked out and then you don't have anybody on your flanks to be able to get that extra, you know, attack. So I think that we'll have 3,000 in each. So we need to get 2,000 more Latin Knights and then 4,000 more infantry. So let's go ahead and do that now. And we might not even need to train these guys anymore. Oh, nope, never mind. Not quite up. And what I might end up doing, yeah, we will do that. But first, let's get these damn units built. We can't do anything until the units are built. So let's go get the cav units here. And trying to get in the quicker places. And then we'll get however many infantry we can afford. Oh, we can get them all. All right, excellent. All right, so we got all these troops building over here. And we can also now invest in military tech. Excellent. Very good news. But then, now that we have that, we're back on par with technology, ensuring we don't lose the innovativeness, which gives you all power cost reduction. That's what makes it really useful. I like it. But again, it does take a long time to get it up to any kind of point where it's actually useful. And our truce has expired with Switzerland, which might be the country we go to war with. And we can get the admin tech. All right. But do we want to do that? Because then, yeah, if we just get this last one, then we'll get both of these bonuses. Leaders without upkeep +1, which, you know, we're not really using at this moment, but the advisor cost, negative 25%, would be incredibly impactful because we are paying, I don't know how much we're paying on advisor, but let's just take a look, 13. So that would be like, you know, three ducats or something like that per month. That's a good amount. Let's go and get that now, and we'll get the tech later. And okay, I thought there was something else that we could get there. Oh, it was the idea. Okay. So we got all our troops built here. Let's go and move them. Oh, no, I'll do that. Let's go and move them in here. And then we're going to do something a little bit different than what we've done so far. We are still waiting on that cav. Okay, we'll wait till the cav guys get here then. Move them over here. Merge them all. And then what we're going to want to do is go ahead and split these guys up. But I'm going to try and do it so that we have one army with full army drill and one with all the units that are lacking it. So that's the plan here, guys. So we can actually give them one of these cab units. And you can kind of imagine what I'm planning on doing here. We're gonna train up one. We won't train the other one, so we don't have to pay for them. How are we looking here? 3,000 more units. That's what we need to move over. And one more. Can't tell who's got the highest here. It looks like this guy. All right, excellent. So let's go ahead and select this unit here. And we'll give them the leader. And then let's go ahead and have them train. While the other unit, we're going to move them to wherever we have some problems with, just here in Verona. We'll move them over here. And then we are going to go ahead and cut down our military spending. Oops, that's not in there. Let's go ahead and cut down the army maintenance down to 0. And that is going to earn us a good chunk of money, guys. All right. Oh, yes, fleet maintenance needs to be turned all the way up. Yeah, that was my bad, guys. Fleet maintenance needs to be turned up if you want to get the full trade power from your trade ships. That's why we mothball these, so that we, yeah, that was just piss poorly done on my part. All right, so let's go and merge these two. It goes down to 25%. Okay, I don't know why I was thinking it was 0. It is 25%, which in that case means that normal rate it'd be 7 months to get them fully up to 100%. So I mean that's a long time. Oh wait, no, you know what? Actually, you got the 5% here, so to get them fully up to 100% would actually be 8 months. So yeah, that's a long time. It's not quite as long as I said before, the 10 months, but yeah, 8 months to get them fully repaired. Quite a while. So we're earning a lot of money. What we could do is go ahead and see if we can get a better advisor somewhere here, especially for the military, which again, we just have that fort defense, which isn't great. We don't even have any better advisors. Okay. Well, that's unfortunate. We got a few more minutes left to play here, guys. And we have made good progress, though. I think we should make around what we've been making. That's largely because we haven't had any... Oh, no. Lost the claim there. That was here. That's because we haven't had any war. That's the reason why we've been making good progress despite all my talking. All right, so let's see what we want to get. I almost want to save the money for the conflict. You know what? It'd probably be good to just save some money for the conflict, just in case we need it. So we would want to figure out who we're going to declare war on next, so we can go ahead and start preparing for that. So our options are Switzerland. We need to see who they're allied with. This would actually be a war with Switzerland and Venice at the same time. So it's really a matter of who all do we want to go to war with. Because we can kind of bring them both in, I suppose. And what we're really trying to fight for. I suppose I'll just take the one land from Switzerland, the one province. And then we definitely want to try and take this one as well. And we do already have a claim there. And we have a claim here. So we don't even really have to do any kind of preparing for that. So essentially, let's just take a look at our current aggressive expansion, which, as you can see, has gone down quite a bit. So yeah, I feel like we're ready. We're gonna wait till 1500 January, but let's go ahead and get our troops moved to their war locations now, and then we'll also take the galleys off. I mean, I don't know that we'll be able to use them. How many ships do these guys have? The Venetians? They still have 26 ships, so I mean, there's really even no reason to even do that. Let's make sure these guys are set to go home. And I am curious what our current trade power in this area is. So we're at 44% here, 27% here. Okay, and yeah, I imagine we don't have peace with them anymore. I don't actually know, though. So what we might want to do, I have no diplomats send, so let's go and pull back this diplomat here. So that we have a diplomat, though technically we could have pulled off the other one since he's already improved all the relations with our allies. Looks like we still have the peace treaty with them, or still have the transfer trade power with them. Yeah, we still have the peace treaty. So we could actually go to war with just Switzerland, and I think that's what we're going to do. And we now have the birth of colonialism. Okay, that changes everything. That's the new institution, guys. And so if we looked at that here, again, I think we already looked at this once, but you can kind of see, I didn't see where it started. So it looks like it started over here in Portugal. Okay, so it's already starting to spread into these areas. I mean, this is probably going to take a little while to get over here. unfortunately. So I think we're going to go ahead and end it here with us now essentially prepared for war against the Swiss. And I assume that the Venetians won't come into the conflict. We do have Urbino here that we're going to have to deal with, which I suppose that's what this army here will do. So yeah, we'll be opened up the next episode with conflict. Let's go. Oh yes, we need to turn up the army maintenance. And what we can do is go ahead and stop these guys from training. And I don't know how much this ticked down while they weren't training. It looks like not much. All right, that's good to see. We do need to get another leader as well. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to get a new general. And that also gives 1% army professionalism. So we're almost to 20% to get the salaried soldiers where you can build supply depots. All right. Oh, and we did get the professionalism. Okay. Awesome. So he is a 4-4-1. Wow, not bad at all. He doesn't have the siege abilities or the maneuver abilities of our other general. So essentially, whoever we want to do sieges, that's the one we're going to want to be in command. Well, actually, it looks like they're probably both going to have to do sieges, but this one has higher. He has higher size forts. So this is the way we'll do it. He'll be the siege guy. And he will be the fighting guy. Although they have more troops. That's fine. It's fine. I mean, you could probably save a lot of, that's something to consider. We could always switch them up. That's what we'll do. That's what we'll do, guys. I'm being indecisive here. We'll switch these guys up. That's the way to do this, I feel. So that way, he can actually use his 2 siege here while we use this army to fight. That's how we'll do it. We'll have to figure out where we want to attack from, so it doesn't matter. We'll just go here because that has the actual fort. And then these guys will be attacking from here. All right, so we are ready. We do have a national decision, the state firearm regiments, we've got that because we had the 20% army professionalism, which I think this is just really good to have. Army drill game modifier plus 40%. Of course, that does result in your armies being quite a bit more expensive, but we're going to do it. We are going to do it. We're going to say we don't need to be notified of that. And we'll make the, make our army more expensive. But again, it's going to make that drill better. Maybe we won't have to drill as often, which means we won't have to keep our army paid for as often. You know what, guys? I realized that, I had that long section of history in the beginning, and we really only made it 5 years when you consider the fact that we started in 1494, but yeah, that was the end of 1494. So you know what? Let's just go ahead and play a bit longer on this episode, guys. We'll go a few more minutes. At least start the conflicts here. Let's get our morale up. So 1 more month here, and then we'll declare war. Alrighty, let's make this happen. So we're going to do the conquest of the province that we want. And I almost want to just go ahead and bring these guys in. Let's see what that would result in. I didn't even consider that. How many allies do they have? Yeah, this is not a problem. And we did burn off quite a bit of aggressive expansion. I think we might be able to take both provinces. Let's try. Oh, wait a minute. Hold up. Austria is actually going to be coming into this conflict. Okay, I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, that's bad. I don't want to fight. I'm not trying to fight them, man. Venice will not, of course. What if we went over here instead? So Switzerland would not join. Well, that's kind of a shame. That's who I want to fight. I mean, I suppose we don't have to do it that way. Yeah, that's not the way I wanted to do this. Let's see here. What about these guys? Okay, so yeah, they actually are not free. Oh, man, that sucks. The Hungarians are going to be in Italy. Shit. Yeah, that's not good. I didn't know that they were one of their subjects. We still have the peace treaty with Venice, who cannot attack them. So really, I mean, that's the choices here, guys. Could declare war on them, but we didn't get a claim yet. And as you can see, just about everybody is willing to support them, so that's not a good option. What about these guys here? Let's take a look and see what this. Whoa. See what this would result in. Just about everybody. Okay. It kind of sucks that Austria is willing to come into this. Yeah, that's a real shame. And they're also going to bring on all their allies, too. Yeah, so that's really not an option, frankly. So we're going to have to declare war on these guys. No way around it. And again, Switzerland's not coming in, so if they did, we could try and get something from them, but Alright, well that's what we're going to do. It's going to be in a much smaller conflict than expected, essentially. Let's go and confirm that. Let's go and attack. There's no reason to keep everybody, or all of our forts going here. None at all, because it's going to be a really easy conflict. This is not the button that we need to go to. So we're going to mothball all forts. No reason to pay for those. And then these guys will just drill. Alright, so we'll attack them there. Could attack their fleet. I don't really see any reason to. I think that, yeah, I don't see any reason to unmothball our fleet here. We will keep the fleet in port, though, those light ships, since they could technically bring them out, though the war will be essentially over as soon as we finish taking the province there. And because this is not quite the conflict I was thinking, and it's not going to be very expensive, we'll go ahead and get a building constructing, which I don't know what we're going to get just yet. I feel like we could always use more manpower, and there are some that do grant a bit, 500, nothing as large as what we got in Milan, that we could get a good chunk in Florence. We'll just take a look, see what other options are available to us. I think we'll just get one of the churches here. There we go, just get those now, because again, they do take a very, very long time to make back their money. Because you're spending, I don't even know how much you're spending for that. What is it, like 70? And then it's what, 0.2 per month? So you can do the math and see that it does take a long, long time. So we are getting a modifier here. I'm not going to use it. I feel like we could save the power by not doing it. Yeah, I mean, we're not sitting at max yet. So I don't see any reason to buy this for such an expensive cost. I mean, given we do get a little bit of innovativeness by getting it. But again, I just don't think it's worth it. Yeah, it's just not worth it to me. We'll wait. We'll wait to get it. Though this does throw me off with that being up there. So we got the good government policies, which we've already gotten. So we could go with stability, and we actually didn't lose that stability, despite the fact that I thought we would. Yeah, let's just get another stability. That will get up to 2+, and we can now purchase a ability with our splendor. All right, awesome. So let's go ahead and get. Well, we looked at these before. We already know which ones we want. Obviously the war taxes would be super nice to have. So we might do that one. Because I'm kind of curious to see if that's how it works, and obviously this isn't going to apply for us for very long. It's only 36 months. So might as well get something that is actually going to be useful to us, which that one would be. Yeah, so let's go and do that one. Because we can make use of it now and see how it works. Because I was curious. So yeah, we raise war taxes, and it's 0 military power per month, so it's literally free. And we can just save all that money. So being at war now is beneficial. Awesome. Yeah, so that's very nice. So yeah, that's one I would certainly recommend to get then, if you want to save some money. So we're just going to wrap this up. I'm actually going to turn this up to speed 5 here. We did lose 10 Navy tradition. I don't know how high our Navy tradition was in the first place, but we did lose 10 of it. Oh no, so the Protestants are taking over more and more Catholic countries. So the price of fish has dropped. So let's just take a look at how that's been going. We haven't looked at it in a while. The siege is done. Excellent. So we should be able to force a peace treaty now. Hopefully. And we want their city, obviously. Not too much aggressive expansion. That's not bad at all. So we could do another war right after if we could find somebody to attack. We could also just wait a little bit and burn it off, though. And we can get 25... They're gold, and that's all. Okay, so let's go and send the demand in. And I probably should have pulled off some of these troops. It was unnecessary to have all of them over there. So we'll bring them back over here. And then what we could also do is go into Verona here. Or, in fact, what we might want to do is have these guys come here and these guys go here. Again, just trying to reduce any revolt risk here. And then have them both train there because, well, this guy's pretty much sitting at 100% here for the most part, so high enough. We're just going to train these guys. And this is what the supply depot does, by the way, if you're curious. You can see there, it gives you the supply limit modifier. So yeah, what we're going to do is go ahead and reduce army maintenance. And then take a look at all the stuff up here, our cores that we need to take care of. We also fulfilled a mission to expand to the south. And that does give us 50 admin power, and we gain permanent claims on the area. Fantastic. The next one is to conquer Tuscany. which as far as that goes, like how far we've conquered it, we've only conquered one province in the area. So that means we're getting claims on all of those, and they're permanent claims too that we'll never lose. So we have a claim on all these here, so we don't have to worry about getting claims anymore. All right, so let's just go ahead and I suppose we need to get buildings, man. We gotta get something going here. We'll just get another church, I guess. Get more monies. All right, so we're still not maxed out, so we'll just let this play. I'm trying to get to 1502, guys. This is the date I'm trying to get to. As far as conflicts, again, I do feel like we're kind of stuck because of this. The situation with Austria and everybody being in the damn HRE and stopping us from expanding. It's kind of a pain in the ass. We do have, you know, countries to attack, but again, Austria is going to support all of them. Every single one, I think. So yeah, that causes issues. We might have to break our alliance with Naples even sooner, or we could just wait until this peace treaty with Venice goes up, which I guess is the way we'll do it. That's 1503. Alright, and we're now near maximum monarch power, which is 1016, so we do need to spend that. So we can actually get an admin tech, which is going to get us the courthouses, and most importantly get us governing capacity, which I think we're bordering pretty close to being maxed out on the governing capacity. 180 out of 200, so yeah, pretty damn close there. So let's go and get that. That'll be helpful. We're now ahead of tech as well. And we have the act of uniformity that we can pass, which gives us the missionary strength, but we're not going to be doing that because it does affect the institution embracement costs. And then we need to spend the diplomatic power, and the best way to probably do this is go ahead and get the... I mean, how far ahead? We're still getting a 25% modifier because we're ahead of time. Again, we get the innovativeness by getting that. But yeah, I don't know if that's the best way to do this. It's 729. I prefer to get a little bit cheaper before we get it. So instead, what we'll do is go ahead and get to the development up. I don't like that Milan, our capital, is not the biggest development province in our empire. So we're going to go ahead and spend it here. We also have a whole bunch of reduced, things that are reducing the cost here. And that was a mission, the Renaissance city here. And so that has got us reduced construction cost and reduced development cost for 20 years. So we will take that, and then we could even spend even less here to tick up. It's the same amount. So I was looking at the wrong province. So we could even spend, just a little bit more to tick it up some. We could look at other places to spend it on. I kind of feel like we should get it here to get the development up there. I hate that it's, we're only doing the base production, but paper is a good price. I guess we'll do the base production here. It is kind of expensive there. But again, I'm trying to get that up. Maybe we should do something cheaper here, like the, well, it's still 83 because it is affected by how many times you increased it. So in that case, I suppose it doesn't matter. We're just trying to get it up to 30 basically, so that we can build there. Yeah, we'll just go and get up to 30 then. Just spend all our damn diplo power. We need one more. Let's get up to 30 there, and we're gonna even spend a bit more. I don't even care. There we go. That's it. So we're getting that production up in all these areas. It's gonna earn us a lot of money. Just kind of get rid of that diplomatic power. And this is in fact where we are going to be ending the episode, guys. So hope you guys enjoyed the little historical section. Sorry if it was a bit long yet. I'll try and cut it so it's a little bit shorter than what it was. But yeah, I do like talking about the history. But again, that'll be the last time we talk about the Dukes of Milan, considering the fact that there aren't really any significant ones after this, or none that I know of, because they're all, rulers of other countries or children of other rulers. So yeah, we'll go ahead and end the episode here. Next episode, we should be able to declare war on Venice, which might result... Oh man, they're allied with the Papal States. That's great. All right, we might end up having to go to war with the Pope too, I suppose. Let's see what happens. I'm not going to let that stop me, though. Venice has to be destroyed. It must be. They are a rival. So I hope you guys did enjoy the episode. If you did, make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment. I do hope to see you guys on the next episode, and thanks for watching.